It is now 7:06. You have exactly 8 hours and 54 minutes to ponder the error of your ways. Any questions?
Yeah. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
A brain, a beauty, a jock, a rebel, and a recluse.
I can't believe this is really happening to me.
Before this day is over, they'll break the rules.
Chicks cannot hold a smoke. That's what it is.
Bare their souls.
I can tell you did that impression when you were little.
Parents aware of this?
Take some chances.
Being bad feels pretty good.
And touch each other in a way they never dreamed possible.
Why did you do that?
So you wouldn't.
The Breakfast Club.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Oh,
They
yeah.
only met once.
I don't want to be alone anymore.
You don't have to.
Emilio!
Lives forever.
Yeah, I consider you guys my friends. I'm not wrong, am I?
Universal Pictures presents Emilio Estevez, Paul Gleason, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy in a John Hughes film,
Why are you being so nice to me? Because you're letting me.
The Breakfast Club.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love this trailer because it actually does a pretty good job of not telling you exactly what the plot is. I love it. You get a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Mason, I'm sure you've heard of The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
This is an iconic movie.
But I don't know anything about it. I've only heard the title.
Okay.
But
So based on the trailer, what do you think the plot is?
so
1985.
it seems like based on the fact that there's like 8 hours or something of them to ponder their actions. I think they're all in detention for some reason.
Nailed it.
And you
Saturday
know,
detention.
I-
Not just regular detention. 8 hours, that's like
all day.
You're
and
there on
empty
Saturday.
school too. So I can tell from personal experience, I've been in detention before. There's a whole like cast of people, just like in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're like set free or like where their teacher is. I'm just gonna go on a limb and say they killed their teacher. So after they kill their teacher, they're like, oh, we can do whatever we want now.
Yeah. And they stay in the school instead of leaving?
Yeah, I think the doors are locked. They're locked in the school.
Gotcha.
And they're scared because they killed the teacher that,
Yeah.
you know, they don't want the cops coming after them.
Right, of course.
So they have to stay, you know, where the body is. Anyway, they're now, since they're free, you know, they're just, you know, walking on the balance beam and just doing a whole bunch of
doing fun
shenanigans.
stuff. Yeah.
And I can tell the girl's not really interested in it.
Okay.
And she said something like, or the guy some feel being bad feels pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think to the girl. So I think the girl's like me, who's like not used to being around those types of kids.
Yeah.
And then is put around those types of kids, kind of enjoys it. She seems to fall in love with the one guy. And I think she's like one of those like 80s low budget movies where they're stuck in one location and the script carries the whole movie.
Man, that's tough. Like, I think you got like 50% of that right. 60%. It is a great script. I wouldn't call it low budget. So this is John Hughes, who did like all of the, like 16 Candles, like all of those big 80s teen movies. Like he basically made like the template of a successful teen movie in the 80s.
So why did he decide to just keep it in one location the whole movie?
Well, it's part of the plot. So to your point, they're in Saturday detention, so they have to stay in the school, man. Why would they just get that? So to
they
answer
killed
your
their
question,
teacher.
no, they didn't kill their. Spoiler alert: they don't kill their teacher. So what's going on is you got to remember this is the 80s, and you know, like adults and stuff just weren't as diligent watching people back then. Just that's being honest, that's real. That is real. 40 years ago, people were not on top hovering over kids, even in a professional setting, the way they are now. There's no way you could say they are. So basically, and also this principal is an asshole. So the principal is the one, that's the one guy you saw, Paul Gleason. He, and I will say, Paul Gleason is probably one of my favorite like villain performances in a movie. He is
in this movie?
Yes, he is the perfect villainous principal. Like he actively hates his students, and he doesn't hide it. It's awesome.
So then why did he keep an eye on them the whole time?
Because he doesn't give a shit. Because he all he thinks about is himself. So like he'll go into, so they're in like the library.
Got it.
And he started with leaving the doors open so he could hear from his office. So he could be in his office doing whatever the fuck he's doing and be able to hear if they're making a noise or anything. Long story short, they end up finding a way to get the doors closed so they won't stay open.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to sit in there with them for 8 hours. He wants to be able to be in his office and do shit.
Yeah.
So eventually he's like, all right, I'll leave the doors closed, but you guys need to like not do anything. But of course they do stuff. So Oh, and it's totally unbelievable. Trust me, you'll watch this movie and there's no way they can do what they possibly did. There's no, that's not what the point of this movie is though, right? So the point of this movie is not what can they get away with under the school's watch. What it's really about is that each of these people belongs to essentially a different social circle. So
Yeah.
like Emilio Estevez is a jock, and then Molly Ringwald's the popular girl, and then you have Ali Sheedy, who's the weird girl, and then Anthony Hall is the nerdy guy, and then there's like the bad boy. So you have all these different categories, and there's just one of them. So it's not like there's two jocks hanging out at each other.
Yeah.
The rest. There's only one. So it basically forces them in this detention setting. Especially back then, no one had phones. You literally just sat there and they gave you a piece of paper and it said like, write about what you would do right and why you're here and blah, 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 right? So that's what it is. So you have 8 hours to write a paper, which would probably take you a minute to write, right?
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do with the other 8? So they just fuck around, and of course they talk shit, and like it gets into basically the high school class system, and it's showing how do the jocks interact with the nerds and the freak interacts with the druggie versus all that type of stuff.
So what's like, is there like a lesson behind it?
Oh, 100%. It's great. And that's honestly one of the best parts of this movie is that in the end, what it all comes down to is all these different groups, when you really boil it down, we're all people.
Yeah.
They're all teenagers and they all have problems. They might be different problems, but they all have problems and they can relate to each other on a way that when you only look at the outside, you may not think that you can. You're in high school, you can probably relate to what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different people with different styles and backgrounds and parents and whatever, but the one common theme with all of you teenagers is A, your hormones are going crazy, and B, you have problems. Whether it's parent problems, house problems, food problems, school problems, behavior problems, sibling problems, like everyone's got something, you know what I mean? And basically it's a movie about sympathy and getting to know other people and not judge a book by its cover. I think it's one of the most effective ones because it's funny. I cry every time. It's emotional. It's deep, man. Yeah, and it talks about serious stuff. It talks about like physical abuse, and it's serious, man. And like eating disorders. Like they get into a lot of good, heavy high school stuff. And you know, you'll watch this movie, and clearly everyone in this movie is 25 or older. Ignore that. That's just what they did back then. Back then, they just got full adults to play teenagers and didn't give a shit.
That's fine.
Well, no, I think it's better now that they actually, when you think about like Stranger Things, you cast people that are the age of the people they're supposed to be in the story.
Yeah.
It feels more believable to me.
Yeah.
But so it's a little weird going back and watching something like this, but at the same time, it's fun. Like, you know, you watched the Mighty Ducks, right? Emilio Estevez was the head coach for the Mighty Ducks. So this is him as like a young 20-something-year-old. It's cool, kind of like to see that stuff. You probably don't appreciate it as much, but anyway. But yeah, so I would highly recommend this movie, really to anybody. I think everyone can relate to this movie on some level. It's super 80s. It's everyone, the hair, the style, the music, it's super 80s. But 80s is back now, so honestly, I think even your age range would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think this is something you give a shot?
I think so. It seems like relatable enough.
And it's always streamable somewhere. It's one of those movies that
it like cycles between.
Just such a high approval rating. Right, so it'll jump from HBO to Hulu to Netflix. It'll be available somewhere, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please check out not 16 Candles. 16 Candles is good too. But Breakfast Club. Thanks for checking out this video, fellow backtrackers.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, doing that.
Yeah, if you got a video or a movie you want us to cover, like just let us know in the comments.
Follow Instagram, Facebook, and all of our socials.
Or don't. I don't really give a shit.